guys, I'm Kelly and this is my channel Kel Stitches, and I am back with a flip through of Cross Stitch for the Earth, 20 Designs to Cherish by Emma Condon. This is her second book. It was first published in 2021, and it has some really nice patterns in it. So let's get into it. Once again, it has your list of contents and shows you all of the patterns there at the front, all stitched up. Welcome to Cross Stitch for the Earth. The natural environment is so precious and full of the wonder of both living and non-living things. With all the variety and beauty on offer, it's a constant source of inspiration for so many cross-stitch designers, including myself. At a time when we are increasingly being made aware of threats to our natural world from pollution, climate change and habitat loss, I wanted to create a series of patterns dedicated to celebrating and caring for our Mother Earth. Her protection is essential for the air we breathe and the food we eat, as well as the survival of all other living beings. These 20 patterns include those that celebrate many of the things we hold dear about our planet, as well as some that are designed to inform and help encourage us to change our habits and be more environmentally aware in our day-to-day lives. I'm delighted that my publishers, David and Charles, have committed to donating 5% of the net receipts from this book to Friends of the Earth, an environmental campaigning community dedicated to the well-being and protection of the natural world and everyone in it. And once again, it just shows you the tools and materials, so fabric and the thread, the scissors, the needles and the frames and hoops. And let's go on to the first one. So unplug and go outside, which is something that a lot of us really probably need to do, especially our kids, but I don't get outside as much as I used to either. So the stitch count is 98 by 130 and it calls for antique white Ada or linen. In our digital age, we can get so absorbed by our smartphones and computers, it's easy to forget the little natural wonders all around us, which we can enjoy if we wrench ourselves away from our screens. Connecting with nature and green spaces has been proven to reduce stress and improve mental as well as physical health. Even more reason to go outside, take a deep breath and enjoy the pace of nature. They won't see it because it's pointing downwards. We don't inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. A Native American proverb. Stitch count is 130 by 190 and the antique white, and it calls for an antique white Ada or linen. This quote beautifully sums up why it is so important to cherish and protect our earth. Ultimately, our children and their children will be the ones who will be affected by actions in our lifetime. We all want our children to grow up in a healthy environment in order to thrive. So every positive action we make in this lifetime will not only help this, but be something for future generations. Sounds like I got a ghost. I need to oil my door. Pardon the weeds, we're feeding the bees. Stitch count is 84 by 123, and it calls for cream eider or linen. Bees are some of nature's hardest workers and play a huge role in the life cycle by pollinating plants essential for our food. Without them, we couldn't survive, so it's important to do what we can for these little guys. You can help them by leaving little areas of your garden for wildflowers for them to feed on. If you ever see a tired bee on the ground, leave a spoon of sugar water next to him so he can have a little drink. Butterflies like this too. We actually have Australian native bees, and they're tiny little fellas, and yeah, we try to keep a lot of plants and stuff around that we know that they would enjoy, but being native bees, they go for a lot more trees and stuff than they actually do flowers. So, and they're amazing little bees they are. You can still eat their honey. They don't produce as much honey as the European honeybees do. Australian natives, you might be lucky to get a kilo of honey out of a hive a year, and therefore that honey does sell for quite a bit more than normal honey, European honeybee honey. And it has a lot of really good properties. It is as good, if not better, than Manuka honey. So I definitely want to stitch that one eventually. The world is full of magic. The stitch count for this one is 131 by 197, and it calls for a navy coloured fabric. Our Arctic is a magical place, unlike any other on Earth, and has an ecosystem to match. Narwhals are nature's unicorns, and iconic polar bears are the majestic kings of the ice. It's a sad reality that global warming affects their frozen habitat twice as much as anywhere else on the planet. So it's vital that we do what we can to help reduce our impact on their world. Being mindful of our carbon footprint, reducing it when we can, is a great place to start. Enjoy all the little things. Stitch count is 100 by 100, and it calls for an antique white coloured fabric. When I was a child, I would lose sleep if I saw a spider dangling from the ceiling, or if I knew there was one somewhere in the house. As I've gotten older and a bit less reactive to things, I've tried to watch them with more curiosity than fear. Many bugs can do the most extraordinary things, and most are such hard workers. Sitting and watching them going about their business can be really fascinating. Leave nothing but footprints, kill nothing but time. Stitch count is 129 by 198, and it calls for an ivory coloured fabric. This beautiful quote works for me in several ways. For a start, it speaks of being respectful in how we treat our precious and natural spaces every day by not littering or causing harm to plants or animals. But it also evokes a wider sense of the legacy that we leave for future generations when it comes to how we care for the planet during our lifetime. It's an excellent mantra. Between two pines is a doorway to a new world. Now, I know someone's stitching this. Can't remember who it is. Don't think it's Alara. No, it escapes me. I can't remember who's stitching this one. Stitch count is 98 by 128, and it calls for a hunter green fabric. I grew up in the suburbs of London, so visiting forests on holiday as a child always felt special. The smell of pine trees, the quiet rustling of unseen animals, and the overall sense of calm made it seem like a completely different world. Even as an adult, I still feel like an explorer when visiting the woods. Just as the sun is setting is my favourite time to go, as the light penetrating the trees creates an ethereal quality. The Japanese have a word for this. Komorebi? I probably just totally annihilated that word. Little ways to help the earth. Bring your own bag, plant more trees, pick up litter, compost food waste, feed birds, turn off the tap, no to junk mail, more plants, less meat, share, swap, share, air dry, buy local produce, refill, mend it, quality over quantity, walk or ride a bike, recharge, grow your own, use soap bars, turn lights off, short showers, unplug at night, shop second-hand, clean green, recycle, reduce, reuse. The stitch count is 130 by 199 and it calls for an antique white fabric. There are so many small changes we can make in our lives that help to lessen our impact on the planet. I thought a pattern with a few calls to action that are easy to follow would be a rewarding and fun thing to stitch, as well as being a little reminder of how we can help to do our bit day to day. We may not manage all of them all the time, but keeping these intentions in our thoughts will help us to modify our lifestyles over time. The great outdoors. Watch the clouds go by, run through a meadow, make a wish, feel the rain, swim in the sea, see the sunrise, pick wild berries, climb a tree, swing, hike in the hills, sand castles, listen to bird song, sleep under the stars, count bugs, forage, go barefoot. Stitch count is 198 by 130 and it calls for a white coloured fabric. As you can see, this one is very much, this one and the other one were very much nearly full coverage. There is a little bit in between that one, but this one is very nearly 90% full coverage from the looks of it. So there would be a bit of stitching in that. Spending time outdoors can be great fun. Taking a time to focus on nature reveals so many things you might not spot at first glance. I've put together this fun pattern of simple pleasures that can be enjoyed outdoors, whatever your age. I never resist the chance to go on a swing. This is by no means a definitive list. There are oodles of things to do in the great outdoors. And the next one is just a picture of all different sea animals. So you've got an octopus, a prawn, a jellyfish, an eel, some fish, different styles of fish, lobster or possibly a crayfish, a turtle. So yeah, just some different things, different sea animals or sea creatures that you can find. Stitch count is 100 by 101 and it calls for a navy coloured fabric. The sea is a weird and wonderful place, home to the largest creature on earth, as well as some of the most unusual in appearance. We know more about the moon than we do about parts of the deepest ocean, and there is so much yet to be explored. I had great fun researching some of the mad critters that live in the big blue. I have particular love for the flapjack octopus. Google it if you need a bit of cute in your life. See if you can spot him. Take care of the earth and she will take care of you. Stitch count is 100 by 100 and it calls for an antique white fabric. Planet Earth can give us so much, and in terms of mental well-being, the benefits of surrounding yourself with nature have been well documented. Trees seem to play a special role in this regard. There is a word in German especially for the spiritual feeling of being alone in the woods. And I am not going to pronounce that word because I've got no idea how to say it, and I'll probably butcher it. And the Japanese practice forest bathing, a calm walk amongst the trees. It's been proven to lower blood pressure, reduce stress, and improve feelings of physical and mental health. Love the earth. And it's just got frog and big cat, snakes, birds, you name it. I love this pattern. Stitch count is 100 by 129 and it just calls for a white fabric. Sometimes we forget to appreciate the earth. Take a moment to consider how truly extraordinary it is, the variety and beauty of the wildlife, the changes in terrain and habitat, and all its natural wonders. There is so much to be in awe of. I hate the thought that for some, the earth is a commodity to be used up for short-term commercial gain. Our planet is the only home we have. We should love every inch of it. Live gently upon this earth. Now, this is another one that looks very much full coverage. Stitch count is 100 by 130 and it calls for an ivory coloured fabric. Living gently upon the earth means being respectful of nature and trying to live in harmony with it, rather than taking it for granted or using it as a resource. I live in the UK, well known for its green rolling hills, hedgerows full of natural life, and circled by a long and varied coastline abundant with marine and bird life. I feel very protective of the wildlife I encounter near my home, and I feel humbled and privileged to live here. All good things are wild and free. I absolutely love this pattern. It's one of my favorites in this book because it's the wild African wildlife. Stitch count is 130 by 100 and it calls for platinum coloured linen, so it looks to be a slight, has a slight colour to it. And it says, creating a safari-inspired piece was something I knew I wanted to do in this book. The African savanna is home to some iconic animals that most of us learn about from an early age. Sadly, some of these creatures remain under threat from poaching and habitat destruction. Though there are many conservation programs ongoing to help protect these animals until the environmental threat diminishes, they will continue to be at risk. Be kind to all that live. This is another one I really like. Stitch count is 101 by 130 and it calls for oatmeal. I wonder if I could get away with using the Rustico 20 count that I've got for this one, because it looks very similar. The fabric looks very similar colour. And it wouldn't make it very big. It's only just over 9 inches by just over 7 inches on 14 count. So 20 count would make it even smaller than that. All creatures play a role in our ecosystem, and although some are small, some ugly, and some considered pests, they are all living beings worthy of compassion. Urban foxes are a big part of London life, for example, but a key reason that they are in our big cities is because of the reduction of wild spaces available to them. We can't blame them for that, even when they get into our garbage bins and cause chaos. Like us, every creature is just trying to make its way in the world. And unfortunately, with more and more housing estates going in, there's more animals losing their habitat. We've got one going in up on the hill above us, and we've had more kangaroos and echidnas and everything else come over because they basically wiped out their living space. All right, now we have a set of 4. Earth Day. Every day recycle for the life cycle. Less plastic is fantastic, and don't drop trash in the splash. And all of them are around your 65 to 69 stitch count. And they are all stitched on white Adam or white fabric of some description, or whatever you choose to stitch them on. Rubbish, trash, leftovers. There's no mistaking it's all bad for our planet. Once we put things in the bin or wash them down the drain, it's all too easy to forget about them. But unfortunately, they don't just disappear. They can make their way into our oceans and into the food chain. There are so many ways to reduce waste, and these little hoops provide simple reminders. Just think of the 5 R's: recycle, reuse, repair, repurpose, and the big one, refuse. The earth has music for those who listen. Stitch count is 130 by 194. This is another one that calls for oatmeal fabric, so I think that I possibly get away with using the Rustico that I've got. Although this wonderful quotation from Shakespeare can conjure so many musical elements of nature, instantly think of bird song. The dawn chorus is a wonderful thing if you're up early enough, particularly in spring and early summer when male birds are especially vocal, singing to find partners and defend their territories. If ever I have difficulty sleeping or wake a little too early, a big consolation is the sweet sound of the birds just before daybreak. Live in the sunshine, swim in the sea, drink the wild air. Stitch count is 128 by 194, and it calls for an antique fabric. Getting away from the hustle and bustle of daily life feels great. Try it. This quote by Emerson really resonates with me, as diving in for a cool sea swim is just one of my favourite things to do. The seawater can be rather chilly, and I sometimes have to really talk myself into it, but once I'm in, my worries seem to disappear. Even better if the sun comes out and I have a gentle breeze to feel on my face as well. And this one doesn't say anything, but it is just a collage of different animals and nature things. It is another one that is very much full coverage. And the stitch count on this one is 200 by 130, and it calls for white fabric. Nature is always in a state of flux, and we notice this particularly with the changing of the seasons. From the weather to the colour of leaves on the trees, nothing ever stays the same. A great metaphor for life, some might say. I really enjoyed celebrating the individual seasons in a big graphic sampler packed full of the highlights of spring, summer, autumn and winter, and I hope you will too. So that is lovely. I will get around to stitching it. As you can see, I do have tags on the ones that I want to stitch first, and then the ones that I haven't stitched, I will probably go back and end up stitching them as well anyway. Never underestimate the difference you make. Stitch count is 99 by 130, and this one also calls for oatmeal. So once again, if I have enough Rustico, I will probably stitch this one on the Rustico. I want to end the book with a particularly important quote. It's worth remembering that you should never underestimate the difference that you can make individually to protect the environment and how it can add to the benefit for all. It's easy to feel insignificant, particularly when governments and big businesses seem to have such control. But small changes done collectively can equal big change. Whether you alter habits at home or add your support to green initiatives, it all helps. And then once again, it goes into techniques and your conversion from DMC to anchor, a little bit about the author, and the index, and of course the back of the book. So that, guys, is cross stitch for the earth. I hope you enjoyed this flick through, and if you stayed right through to the end to watch, thank you very much. It is very much appreciated, and I will catch you all on my next video. Bye.